Yes. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the session today, Understanding and Supporting Carers. My name is Mary Magis. I'm one of the Education Development officers at Carers New South Wales, and will be facilitating this session this afternoon. I just want to say thank you to the Hunter New England and Central Coast um, uh, uh, PHN for inviting me along to talk to you about carers today, particularly as this week is Carers Week, where we recognise and celebrate and raise awareness about our 3 million carers in Australia, and particularly recognising the contribution that carers make not only to the person they're caring for, but also to the community and to our national economy. So, welcome to all those who are carers with us today. Before I start the session, I would just like to to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land from which we are all meeting today, and to pay my respects to elders past and present, and to extend that respect to any Aboriginal people who have joined this session today. So, when we talk about carers and the carers that I am going to refer to in this presentation, are those who provide support and care to a family member or friend who has a disability, a mental illness, a drug or alcohol dependency, a chronic condition, a terminal illness, or who are frail. And carers might be parents, partners, siblings, friends, children of the person requiring care. We certainly have young carers as young as 8 that we have worked with. So, carers who fit into that definition. The definition does not include paid care workers, formal volunteers who may be providing a care service as part of a service contract, or parents, foster carers, or kinship carers who may be providing care to someone or raising a child without a disability, or they do not fit into that definition. And it's really important, particularly in service provision, that we have a clear understanding of the difference between carers and paid care workers. Because often what happens is that the term carer is used to describe many different care type of situations, and subsequently carers may not engage with the term carer, with that definition, remain hidden. And we know a risk with carers remaining hidden, they don't access supports and services because they don't feel it is for them. So when we think about our, if you like, informal carers, we are talking about those who are providing care within an existing relationship. It could be a family member or a friend or a neighbour. They are unpaid. That does not include getting an income support payment from Centrelink. And they usually are providing that support and care without any training, qualification, and certainly not protected by any workplace safety regulations or workplace policy. Whereas our formal paid care workers are providing formal care services on behalf of a service contract with a service provider, generally under the direction of workplace policies and characterised by scheduling and training training or professional qualifications. So there's a lot of diversity in carer relationships, as I mentioned. A carer can be a child, a daughter, a son, a parent, an aunt, an uncle, a neighbour. There's a lot of diversity in carer relationships, but the caring relationship is quite distinct from regular family or friend relationships. And I'll often talk to carers around, a lot of carers find that the care they're providing is an extension of the relationship they have with that person. For example, I'm mother, I have a child with this disability, of course I'm going to care for my child. It's about getting carers to perhaps see the difference between what they are providing in terms of support and care to a child with a disability, how that would be different from providing that care to a child, for example, that did not live with a disability. Carers are diverse. They come from all walks of life. Anyone, regardless of age, education, background, socioeconomic status, so many different characteristics, can become a carer at any time. The majority are of working age. However, many of those in the working age group are not working because of their caring role, because of the demands of their caring role. Now, how carers are diverse is going to influence how they impact, how they recognise their role, how they identify as a carer, their carer experience, and how they access supports and services. So lots of diversity within carers. As I mentioned, 1 in 8 Australians is a carer, and this is from our most recent data, the Survey of Disability Ageing and Carers of 2022. So about 3 million carers in Australia, 958,500 of those reside in New South Wales. And out of those in New South Wales, there are around 349,000 who have the primary or main responsibility for care. However, in saying that, it's not just primary carers that we need to be aware of. Where there is a caring situation, for example, within a family, you're often finding that there are other family members who are also supporting the care of the person needing it, but also supporting the carer as well. In terms of who carers are primarily caring for, every couple of years, Carers New South Wales leads a national carer survey, and the 2022 results for New South Wales specifically indicated that about 48% of carers were caring for a child, and that includes an adult child. 34% were caring for a partner, 24% were caring for elderly parents, and 4% were caring for others. And that could have been for a neighbour or a friend or anybody like that. 63% of carers were caring for somebody with disability. In terms of caring, what carers do, again, it is quite diverse. Each situation is very different. And whilst that's so, carers may need to manage a range of challenges associated with their caring that can be quite physically and emotionally exhausting. I guess if you'd like to think about some of the practical day-to-day stuff that carers do, the administration and planning for the person they're caring for, they could be completing paperwork for access to services. They might be doing their banking, paying their bills, etc. Anything like that that could be helping the person plan for the future. A lot of carers, and what often isn't recognised as something carers do, is the emotional support they provide the person who is needing that. Transportation and shopping, and of course, cooking, bathing, toileting, cleaning, and laundry. Some of the very practical, I guess, if you like, day to day stuff that carers become involved in. Some of the other things that I guess you might consider as a little bit more complex is often carers are navigating pretty complex health systems. The health system, the NDIS, which is a National Disability Insurance Scheme for those who are living with a disability under the age of 65, the aged care system, anything like that. They might be navigating those complex systems in ensuring that they are getting the support that is required for the person that is needing it. There's also a lot of advocacy that the carers do for the person they're caring for. Managing medicine, monitoring symptoms, treating and monitoring side effects of medication or treatments, dealing with incontinence or limited mobility, and also managing some challenging behaviours. It could be behaviours that come from dementia, for instance, anything like that, some aggressive behaviours, frustrations from people needing care who may be living with a chronic condition, often who are also experiencing depression as well. So this is certainly not a definitive list. There are lots of things that carers do to support the person they are caring for. And when you think about if we were to replace what carers do with professional paid care services, the cost to government would be $77.9 billion annually. And that's according to a report that was conducted in 2020. That would be the replacement cost of informal care if we were to replace what carers do with formal paid care services. 77.9 billion, that is a lot of money, and that is an annual cost. And when you think about, when you look at there at that graph, I guess how much the government is paid, our 2023 report with regards to the cost of government for NDIS, that was about 37.4 billion, and for aged care supports, it was 28.3 billion. So the replacement cost of informal care is much, much more than those two combined. Now, in acknowledging this, all states and territories have a Carer Recognition Act, and there is certainly a federal act as well. And what the act has done, it has standardized the definition of who a carer is, and the definition is very much reflective of the definition I gave at the start of the presentation. It standardizes that definition to enable recognition and identification to support that for carers. It has established the New South Wales Carers Advisory Council, which is made up of carers, and our CEO of Carers New South Wales is part of that advisory council, and they represent carers to the minister. It has also created the New South Wales Carers Charter, for particular statements of how we should recognise and acknowledge carers. And those statements are around carers, the recognition that carers make a valuable contribution to the community, that we need to support carers' health and well-being if we are going to sustain them in their role, that they are diverse and they have individual needs within and beyond their caring role, and that we work with carers as partners in care, particularly as carers provide a lot of support and care to somebody at home. There are a lot more people who are choosing to stay at home. There are a lot more people who are living longer with chronic conditions. So there is a need for those informal carers. So one of the things is around that recognition that carers are partners in care. And what the Act has also done, it has created a set of obligation, 13 principles under each of those, I guess, statements, which provide some guidance to government and other sector agencies about how they should work with carers. When you think about all carers do, we know that caring is demanding. We know that the carer's well-being is lower than any other group in Australia. Carers levels are, and despite how long carers have been caring for, the level of well-being does not change. But we'll get to the negative impact. It's often easy enough to think about the negative impacts of caring. I like to sort of think about, or to start with, some of the positive impacts of caring. And these are things that carers have told us are some of the positives that they've experienced in their caring role. So, a lot of carers talk about a renewed sense of love and commitment for the person that they are caring for. Many carers speak about the relief of being able to provide a safe and loving environment for the person receiving care, in an environment that the person receiving care is familiar with as well. Often there are stronger relationships forged, not just with the person needing care, but also with other family members. And lots of carers talk to us about the new skills that they are learning and the sense and the feeling of achievement that they experience from being a care, learning about a person's condition, learning how to advocate, learning about what sorts of supports and services are out there. However, there are some very significant impacts as well when we think about a number of different things. You know, carers often put their own needs last. Carers very rarely reflect on the impacts of their caring role. Many carers often tell us, if I stop to think about the impacts on me, I'm afraid that I'm going to break down, and I don't have time to do that. So there are a lot of emotional, physical, social, cultural, and financial impacts. And you can see there some of the different impacts that come from caring. Of course, you know, some of the most common injuries that carers experience are things like back, neck, and shoulder pain from pulling and lifting someone. The social impacts on many carers, because of their caring role, become disconnected from their communities and from friends and family, because caring can be quite unpredictable, and often then unable to get to things, or meet with friends or keep those connections going. A lot of carers leave work or reduce their working hours because of their caring role. And when that happens, of course, earnings come down, there's a loss of savings and superannuation. There are extra expenses that come with caring. So there's some quite a significant amount of financial distress. And the emotional impacts can be very high. Carers often express quite a lot of stress and distress. And we know that stress is a very common or normal response to challenging or new situations, particularly situations where we have no control over. And with carers, particularly, there's a lot of uncertainty about changes. There's a lot about the unknowns that a person's condition might bring, and what sort of care they're going to require. There's a real interdependency between the person needing care and the carer. So if the person needing care's condition deteriorates, it's going to put more impact on the carer. There are ongoing mental and physical demands, but there's also the overwhelming feelings and the anxieties and stress, frustrations that carers experience, also with trying to access supports and services, or not being able to access supports and services as they are needed. And what this means, if carers don't often get the support, and I often say to carers, asking for support, taking on support isn't an admission you're failing. It's a recognition that caring is demanding. And if we're not being able to provide, if carers are not accessing that support and these impacts are building, there's a huge implication for the person, well, both for the carer and the person needing care. For the carer, there's social disconnection, there's burnout, there's distress, and there's usually tension and conflict that results from caring. But for the person needing care, the quality of care can be impacted on, the sustainability of care, and there are also risks to health and well-being, including risks of abuse and neglect as well. The National Carer Survey particularly looked at, when we looked at carers in New South Wales, they were much more likely to be at risk of mental illness and had a higher level of lower well-being. Had much more lower well-being than all other groups and all other carers across the nation. So if you see there, 56% felt very socially isolated. The well-being levels were 1 in 2 carers that were experiencing very high psychological distress. So the impacts are quite significant. We know that what carers want and what is needed to support carers in the caring role is being able to share caring responsibilities either with others or other services, having sufficient financial resources, being able to engage in physical and social activities outside of their caring role. There's been a lot of focus on the importance of social connection and community connection as a huge support for everyone's health and well-being. Strong social networks and access to replacement care services. So access to respite to give carers some time out. So these are all protective care factors for carers' health and well-being. So when we look at some carer supports and what is out there specifically for carers, some of you may have heard about the Carer Gateway. Now, the Carer Gateway was implemented in 2019 and it is support pathways. It's a national, it is one pathway for supports and programs specifically designed for carers. These are national programs that are delivered, I guess, locally or regionally, if you like, by particular carer gateway providers. To access these programs, it is one website or one national number, the 1800 422 737, business hours 8 to 5. But people who are looking for emergency respite can also access emergency respite via that number outside of office hours. It will just automatically triage to the respite provider in the area in which the person lives. The sorts of things that carers can access from the Carer Gateway are things such as in-person peer support, which are like carer support groups. It's an opportunity for carers to be connected with other carers and to share their caring experiences and learn from one another. Usually about 4 or 8 session in-person peer support. Carers can also access in-person and phone counselling, specifically around their caring role, provided by professional counsellors, 6 sessions free of charge to carers. They do not need a referral from their GP to access counselling through the Carer Gateway. There is in-person carer coaching, particularly for carers who are experiencing a great deal of distress. This is one-on-one support with a carer coach, identifying, I guess, what the need of the carer is and working towards those goals to meet that need. There are tailored support packages. These are financial in nature and they are used either for a one-off purchase that is going to support the carer in their caring role, or they may be used for things like accessing some planned respite or accessing some services that are required to support carers. Emergency respite are for carers who are experiencing an imminent or unplanned event that where they need to step out of their caring role. And they can access some emergency respite for the person, somebody to step in and take over that respite while the carer addresses what the need is. It could be that a carer has to go into hospital tomorrow, for instance, and there is no one else to look after the person they're caring for, some emergency respite is required. An emergency respite can be provided in home or in residential care. So there's a whole range of different ways emergency respite care can be provided, depending on what's available out there. There are also some online skills courses that carers can undertake in their own time that are self-paced, and of course lots of information and tips. So all these programs are delivered Australia-wide, are available Australia-wide, but delivered locally by specific carer gateway providers, depending on the area in which you live. Access is through the 1800 422 737 number. If a carer rings that number, it automatically reroutes to the gateway provider for the area in which they reside. Now, Carers New South Wales, we are the peak organisation for carers across New South Wales. We're not government, but we get paid by government, we get funded through government to deliver some of the programs and services that we deliver. We do a lot of policy and research, and this is policy work that is at a systemic level, for instance. We deliver on things like, I've got it here, policy to government, representing carers at a broad level. It's not individual advocacy. We deliver education, develop and deliver education free of charge to carers and providers in building that capacity for support. We have our young carer work is specific to young people 25 years of age and under who are caring for a family member or friend who lives with a disability, mental illness, as I defined. And they are very much focused on raising that awareness and raising the capability of educational institutions and providers to work and support carers. Career Pathways for Carers is a program that supports women carers between the ages of 15 to 64 who are caring and who live in New South Wales and who are experience quite complex barriers to re-entering the workforce. So it's really around supporting job readiness, engaging with potential employers, post-placement support, and support to get into employment. The Care to Prepare program is around natural disasters and it's specifically for people in Gunnedah, Shoalhaven, and there's one other area which slips my mind, but the Care to Prepare program is around providing support for carers caring for somebody with disability around reducing the risk of natural disasters. So it's really around preparedness. We also deliver the Carers and Employers program, which is accrediting and establishing best practice standards for organisation, corporates, government organisations, private organisations to be carer-friendly workplaces. And we are also funded, Carers New South Wales is funded by federal government to deliver the Carer Gateway services that I previously described for the Hunter New England, Central and Mid and North Coast regions of New South Wales. So for the regions in which you work, there are other gateway providers for carers in other regions of New South Wales, but we deliver those gateway services for your region. For more information about what the Carer Gateway provides, you can access that information via the Carer Gateway website, or you can call the 1800 422 737 number. Remember that the Carer Gateway is supports for carers specifically. You can also learn more about the Carer Gateway, plus also learn more about the types of programs and services that Carers New South Wales delivers. You can also access information around any events that are happening for carers, including education sessions, via the the Carers New South Wales website. There's lots of tips. There are fact sheets around things like the rights that carers have under different sectors. So the rights of carers in the health sector, the rights of carers in mental health, in aged care, disability, also all those sorts of sectors. Plus, also those tips also provide information for where carers can raise concerns and make complaints. So we have handbooks, we have guides, we have checklists, we have videos, we have some really great um, um, booklets around carer skills for carers who are caring for somebody who is older. There are some fantastic manual handling videos that have been developed with carers and occupational therapists around moving an older person in and out of bed, to a chair, in and out of a shower, things like that. So lots of information on the Carers New South Wales website as well. Well, that brings me to the end of the presentation about giving you a little bit of information around carer recognition. If you would like to know more about the Carer Gateway, we do deliver Carer Gateway specific education sessions that you are welcome to register on. We advertise them on the Carers New South Wales website. We also have a video recording on our YouTube link around the Carer Gateway. If you would like to learn more specifically about the programs that Carers New South Wales deliver, we also deliver an information about Carers New South Wales. Happy to take any questions that may have come up, Molly. If there's anything there, it could be a thought, it could be a realization if you would like to share, or a comment, some feedback, anything you like. Feel free to do that within the chat room there. I think I've just gone over the time frame by a couple of minutes.
Thank you, Mary, so much for just a really comprehensive presentation. We really appreciate it. There have been no questions that have come through, but obviously you've put all of the contact details on the slide in front of us.
Yes.
I want to thank the participants for spending your lunch break with us. We really appreciate it. And again, thank you to Mary for what is a great presentation. Everyone look after yourselves, and thank you so much.
Have a great Carers Week, everyone. Take care. Thanks, Molly.